habits very quick. If it was so hot out there, you wouldn't be drinking tea at all. You'd just be drinking bottles of water.
And are you eating tato crisps now that you're back?
Oh, no, I never eat potatoes.
And
I never eat crisps.
What about Bovril?
Okay, folks.
No, I haven't tried the Bovril either. It's not that cold yet.
We're online, folks, so just watch your P's and Q's now. Be nice and polite and kind and calm.
Look, there's my uncle. Hi, John, my brother, Michael. There's the budgie, the family budgie. Hi.
Viewers, welcome, welcome. I know there's nobody live yet, but I guess there will be shortly. And if you're watching the replay, welcome to the Talk Show for Talkers here on irishtalkers.com, where I was going to say the magic happens, but it might be the insanity happens. We'll see. We'll try and keep the insanity to a minimum.
Well, since you mentioned insanity, Moira, we've become very customized to sanity. Sanity points.
Sanity points, yeah.
Wash your hands.
Yeah. Yep. Absolutely. Wash your hands, wash your hands, wash your
I'm
hands.
gonna wash that virus right out of my hair. I'm gonna wash that virus right out of my hair and send it on its way.
Well done, Paul.
Okay,
I noticed that you washed your hair, all right. You got a cut, did you? Did you get a cut?
He did.
Yes, I did. You mean you didn't notice it was longer?
I noticed the other night. I thought you were the younger version of Paul O'Mahony.
Yeah, I got overwhelmed. My mailbox just filled up with loads of people lobbying me to cut my hair.
Was that M-A-L-E or M-A-I-L?
Oh, sure, I had it from all sides, Ted. I even had the owner of the local cafe, Cafe Beva in Glenmire.
Brilliant.
I was having a cup of coffee with my wife, and it's bad enough to have your wife lobbying you to get your hair cut. But when she turns to the owner of the cafe and says, John, what do you think of his hair? I mean, you know, that's unfair, isn't it? That's called hair shaming.
Whatever about being unfair. It was an unfair question anyway.
Well, it is hair shaming, and I'm totally against hair shaming.
I'm totally against hair raising as well, as what you had.
Oh.
You can see that I don't hair raise at all, or raise hair for that matter.
We could make that word of the week next week, Ted.
Yeah, hair raising. Yeah.
Yeah.
Very, very droll, very droll.
Glad to see you put on the green shirt anyhow, Paul. Well done.
Well, there's a story behind this, and since we're not on air and nobody will hear us, and this is a total secret just between you and me, so don't tell it to Moira, on Sunday I am representing Ireland.
Very
Representing
good.
Ireland.
So I need to put on the green jersey. So this is the best I have.
It's lovely, actually.
See if I can show it to you.
Yeah. I can't read it now since you're standing up, but what time is it?
Okay, I'll help you out. What
Time is mass.
time is mass?
Right, okay.
Obviously, that doesn't resonate with your childhood. It neither did with mine either. But there's a company called Hairy Baby down in Cork, and they make T-shirts with kind of quasi-iconic phrases on them. And one of them is, what time is mass?
Sorry, lads, I just have to take a phone call now.
You? Right. So, Moira, we'll be waiting for Ted for what, 3/4 of an hour? We better...
Very good. Nice to hear from you.
Well, I'm trying to get the audio synced. Now what's happened?
No worries, no worries.
Are we still syncing, by the way?
I'm trying to get the audio synced.
No worries.
Oh, yeah.
The audio's a bit off.
I mean, if it's still possible to catch the audio,
We're
I
nearly
can
there.
read people a recipe.
No worries. Yeah, we'll slot you in again some other time, so don't worry about that. I have a guest tomorrow anyhow, so could give us that extra bit of time to give him a flavour of what it's all about. You know? Good man, Colin. Thank you. That's grand. Thanks for ringing me. Thanks for ringing me.
So
Players, you're welcome. No
to
worries.
see now. I want a clap.
So when Ted comes back, I can give him a recipe for grasshoppers because I'm sure
Okay,
that
that'll do.
he needs a grasshopper recipe.
That will do.
Are we synced, Moira, or are we
we are
sunk?
synced. We are synced. Hello, viewers. Elizabeth, great to see you again. Greetings to all our viewers.
Especially Elizabeth Jordan, who is the public relations manager for one of the, how many districts in Toastmasters, Moira?
How many
136,
districts?
is it?
Something like that, yeah. I've never actually counted, but yeah, it's got to be up there.
Okay, lads, I'm back.
Okay, well, Elizabeth Jordan, public relations manager for one of the 136 districts in Toastmasters International. Greetings to you.
Welcome, Elizabeth. Delighted to be back with you again, my dear.
Okay, shall we get this show on the road?
Yes, I think so.
I think that'd be a good idea, don't you? Let me. I'm not 100% ready, but I will be in just a few ticks of a shake. No, shoo.
Ed, while Moira's getting ready,
well, she's ready.
You're likely to want a recipe for grasshoppers, aren't you?
Oh, yes. Yeah.
Yes, well, here is a good recipe for grasshoppers.
Okay.
What you have to do is remove the wings and the horned parts of the legs.
Right.
You boil them in water for 5 minutes and you dry them in the sun.
What, the legs or the grasshopper?
The wings and the horned parts of the legs.
Oh, right, okay.
Then you winnow off any remaining wings, whatever winnow means, word of the week next week on the show.
You'll be using an eyebrow, what do they call it, plucker?
Oh.
Tweezers.
And you fry them in a pan with a little salt. You add a little chopped onion or peanut flour if you like, and you serve it as a starter or with a dip.
Right.
So there you are, Ted.
It's very nice, Paul.
Out you go and catch some organic, they're organic, I think, grasshoppers, aren't they?
I think they are, yeah.
Warning, street camera bitrate is lower than the...
Actually,
that sounds very nice. That sounds very nice.
They're probably...
Did I ever give you a recipe, Paul, that I have, which is quite popular in Europe, how to cook mullet?
No, I didn't.
How to cook mullet. What you do is you get two sheets of cedar wood.
Oh yes, easy to get that.
You clean the fish out.
Yeah.
You put it between the two sheets and wrap the whole lot in tin foil, and you put it in the oven at 220 for an hour and 20 minutes. And then
by that time, is the cedar wood cooked in that quickly?
Yeah, the fish cooks between the two sheets of cedar wood, and the cedar wood absorbs the flavour from the fish as well. So you then take out take it out of the oven, leave it rest for a couple of minutes, unfold it from the tin foil, throw the tin foil away, take the fish from between the two sheets of cedar wood, throw the fish away and eat the cedar wood.
I knew there was a punchline coming. I knew.
Okay, lads, let's get this show on the road. Are you ready, Ted?
Yes, Mar, I'm ready.
Okay, 3, 2, 1, go.
Good evening, good morning, good afternoon, Toastmasters, listeners and friends. You're very welcome to the Talk Show for Talkers on irishtalkers.com. Our email address is info@irishtalkers.com. You can also find us on Facebook as the Talk Show for Talkers. And we look forward to your comments, your questions, your feedback. In fact, we regard this as evaluation. So we will analyze it. So forensically. So make sure you do it properly. You can also listen to previous shows on our website, irishtalkers.com. We also publish the Public Speaking Weekly, and this is a roundup of links from the internet, all about Toastmasters, public speaking, confidence, leadership, etc. So look out for the newspaper on our website. My name is Ted Malamphy, and I'm joined again this week by the prolific, persuasive, passionate Paul O'Mahony, Division A Director.
Well, it's a pleasure, listeners, to be with you again. And in case you're wondering which district I'm from, it's District 71.
Well done, Paul. I'll have to remember that next week. And of course, we also have the multilingual multi-talented, mindful, motivating, magnificent Moira O'Brien.
Well, now, Ted, I wish I was multilingual. Sadly, I was not brought up properly. My mother, her native language was Maltese, and she never taught me any Maltese at all. So as a result, I am monolingual. Sad,
Right,
but
so
true.
I'm just after coming up with a new word for you for next week now. We will also have our very own Malteser, Moira O'Brien.
Well, guess what, Ted? Ever since I was knee-high to a grasshopper, I've had that rather poor joke. No, very poor joke. No, extremely poor joke.
I thought I was being very complimentary. It's not everybody can have a Malteser.
Ted, 50% of the listeners were in stitches. Absolutely in stitches.
And the other 50% are stitched up.
The other 50% are friends of Moira's.
Oh, yeah, that's what I thought, yeah. So on today's show, we have the usual mix. We will have a thought for the week, even though it's a bit convoluted today. It doesn't look like a thought for the week, but it's something that can be very thoughtful. We certainly will have an abject word for Paul, I'm sure, as his word of the week. We will have a lovely, it's not an interview, no, but we're going to give you a speech on segment 2 of the talk show for talkers, and I'm sure you're going to enjoy that. Then, of course, on the third part, we'll have Paul, and we have no idea what he gets into. So we will have something on the third section from Paul. You have no idea what you're getting into. And Moira, as usual, will be giving us something that we can all look forward to, body language and props. So that should be good. And she'll be using something in there which will be very beneficial to Toastmasters to be able to look at this and think about what Moira is telling us. So I'm going to give you it's not my thought for the week, but it is a thought for the week. Martin Seligman. He's known as the happiness professor. Google him, Martin Seligman. He has revealed that optimism is the most important quality you can develop for personal and professional success and happiness. It transpires that optimists have 4 characteristics, all learned through repetition and practice. Firstly, they see the good in all situations. Okay, they see the good in all situations. Secondly, they seek the valuable lesson to be learned in each situation. So usually when you have a catastrophe or some kind of an event like that, even in times like that, there are things to be learned. Thirdly, they seek solutions. And fourthly, optimists think and talk continually about their goals. So I think we just need to look at the 4 recommendations that he gives. First, they seek the good in all situations. Secondly, they seek the valuable lesson to be learned in each situation. Thirdly, they seek solutions. And fourthly, optimists think and talk continually about their goals. Any comments?
Yes. In addition to optimists having those 4 tendencies, I want to say that gin drinkers always see the good in all situations after they've had a few good glasses of gin. Also, they take lessons out of every situation, even when they're unable to remember any of them. Thirdly, they seek solutions all the time for the difficulty of running out of gin. And fourthly, they talk about their goals, which is the next opportunity that they will have in order to enjoy gin. I think that there's a tremendous quotation, and I'm not being paid by the Gin Drinking Association of the Northern Hemisphere. Just wanted to chip that in, Ted.
Well done, Paul. Thank you for that, because I was just about to mention that this week's show is sponsored by Diageo. the gin manufacturer.
Ted, now come on. Toastmasters International does not approve of sponsorship by drink companies on podcasts.
Right, okay.
Especially podcasts in District 71, because District 71 is the sponsor of the Talk Show for Talkers, and it would undermine the connection between District 71 and our leader, Jared Mannix, because he is a whiskey drinker. So
Right,
it wouldn't be fair.
Well, that wouldn't be fair. You're right. I'm glad you clarified that, Paul. I'm sorry if I stepped over the line there, actually.
Well, if our district public relations manager was listening, she might be worried about the effect on our brand.
Yeah, true. I'm glad, yeah. And that's something we have to be very conscious of, the brand, and we are so proud to live by that brand. Moira, any thoughts on that? About Martin Seligman's contribution?
I had to read it, Ted, because it was
a bit long.
It was quite difficult. But just reading it back, the thing that strikes me most is what he says. It transpires that optimists have 4 characteristics all learned through repetition and practice. And it's the repetition and practice that resonated with me, because I have absolutely no idea that is how we become good at anything, by repetition and practice. So it doesn't apply just to an optimist.
Good point. And when I saw it first, actually, I was saying to myself that I thought optimist was a state of mind. In actual fact, you can teach yourself to become an optimist.
Yeah.
You can look for the better in any situation and always try and extract something from something. In other words, you can make a decision that you're going to feel down about what you see, but there's always a lesson to be learned. And I would say that it is in times of adversity that we actually blossom, because we come to the fore. And I think this past year, we've had a fantastic demonstration of club members and clubs helping to motivate the hierarchy within Toastmasters to take on the challenges that we took on, insofar as it would have been very easy to sit back and say, look, we'll cancel this year, we'll come back in 2021. But no, we didn't. We stuck to it, and we said, we're going to put this on Zoom, we're going to put it online, and we're going to see how far it takes us. And little did we know that we would all be visiting different countries of the world, meeting fantastic people, building fantastic relationships, and all because of COVID.
Yes, I wholly agree, Ted. That's it's very well put. Something that I think of in one way or another every day, because I have met so many wonderful people and connected, not just met, but connected with and worked with so many wonderful people that I would never in a million years have had the opportunity to connect with, without the prompting, let's say, of going online. So
yes,
yeah,
you're so right, Mark. And when you use the word worked, what I would like to put in there also, along with worked and learned with other people. Look at the education we've been given over these past 5 months.
Yeah, absolutely.
With regards how to use Zoom, how to upload certificates, how to put your stuff on. I think it's incredible.
Yeah, I agree. And in fact,
well, now I'm going to spoil the mood. And in fact, I literally felt myself a minute ago like I'm running for the hills, because the word of the week, which is what the listeners are waiting for, is totally in contradistinction with all this optimism and all this good things that are going on. So I think, as a builder on top of the mood that has been here, I feel myself to be an abject failure. And the word I have for you this week, listeners, is one that you can use in that section of your communication where you're wanting to come across as a humble person, where you're wanting to say, I've been an abject disappointment to my inner self. I really feel that I have let myself down. I didn't share my lottery winnings with everybody in the country. Anyway, back to the key point. I have a question for both Moira and Ted around this word abject. And I'm going to tell you where it comes from in a minute. But first of all, let me spell it for you. A-B, you know, A-B-C, A-B-J-E-C-T. And it's absolutely not to be mixed up with the word object. So no connection, first of all. And if you're learning English, it's very important that you don't say to somebody, you're the object of my desire. Don't say you're the object of my desire, right? Very important. Say, anyway, the abject. Now, I want to know which of these two words entered the English language at the first earliest and when? The word accused and the word abject. Very quick response. Ted?
1500s.
Moira?
1400s.
Which was first, Ted? Accused or abject?
Accused.
Wrong. Moira?
Abject.
Wrong. They both came in at the same time in the 15th century.
Hey!
That's not fair.
That's more of the 1400s. Yeah.
Now, the key thing about abject is that it's an adjective. It's an adjective, and it means something that's very bad or severe. So if somebody has a pretty crummy sense of humor, and there are such people around, maybe not too far away from us, you can say they have an abject sense of humor. The main use of the word abject that I think people use in ordinary conversations is to talk about people being in abject poverty.
Yeah.
But John Milton, the extraordinary 17th century English poet, used the phrase, to lowest pitch of abject fortune thou art fallen. To lowest pitch of abject fortune. That means terribly miserable state. So you can talk about somebody being an abject failure. You can talk about abject, but you can also talk about somebody being an abject coward. You can talk about somebody who's been made abject by suffering. And you can, if you're fighting a war and you're in charge of an army, and you can make an abject surrender. All these kind of things. So there's the word abject, 15th century word, but don't use it when making a speech to an international audience, because many of the people, including some of the judges, might mishear the word, and they might hear you say object. And if they hear you say object instead of abject, they'll think that, there's a grammatical mistake. Mark you down a point. So I just want to say that there are some words which it's wonderful to use in your own local club, where you have an opportunity over a cup of coffee later to explain to somebody in the break, while everybody's zooming off to the washroom. You can explain what you meant by abject. But I wouldn't use it if you were a competitor. I'm not sure if that's a fair point to make, because frankly, it's up to you to decide whatever words you want to use. But I love the word because it's not a very common word. And a speaker who would use the word abject, especially if they weren't talking about abject poverty, if they were talking about abject something else, then I think also be careful that you don't say that something is an adjective. An adjective is different from an adjective. So all of these fine distinctions are worthy ones to remember, because I would say perhaps 20% of the total membership of Toastmasters, being very conservative, has joined Toastmasters in order to become better at communicating in the English language.
But I think it's a powerful adjective, Paul, particularly when it's put before poverty, but you'd also hear it misery, abject misery. So it really gives feeling to how dire the situation is or was.
Moira used to do a section on rhetorical devices, and one of the rhetorical devices is to put together two words which are strange bedfellows. So you could talk about abject luxury. was in abject luxury.
Yeah.
And that, there's some word for that. I'm not sure if it's litotes or whatever it is. One of these words I could never remember. But, and I won't put Moira on the spot, but abject. So perhaps this has been an abject segment today, but I hope it's been a good object lesson.
Well, I'm in abject despair that we have run very much over time, and therefore we'll have to bring this little segment to a close. And we'll see you again tomorrow, when we'll be bringing you none other than the World Championship of Public Speaking winner to 2020, Mike Carr. Now, Ted, you're aware that Mike has agreed to be interviewed?
I do. I'm aware of that. I'm just waiting. When he gets back onto you, refer him on to me and we'll have him on the show.
Yeah, I will put him onto you.
Okay.
I'll email him. I've got his email address, and I'll send him an email and I'll copy you.
Yeah, superb. Thanks.
When were you planning to tell Paul O'Mahony, by the way? Just wanting to check up on that. When was Paul going to find out that this wonderful thing is going to happen?
I thought you knew it already.
I actually put it into, I think, our WhatsApp group, but I'm not 100% sure.
You did actually,
Did you?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think so.
That he had agreed. Anyway, never mind. I thought all had been agreed that you would write to him and ask him, but I didn't realize he'd accepted. By the way, I'll be seeing Mike on Sunday.
Yep, good.
And I expect he and I will be going for a pint afterwards.
Undoubtedly.
And he's probably bringing his 8 children, so it'll be quite good, really. You know, he'll be going to One Country, One World shortly after 1 o'clock next Sunday. So I'll tell him that you're a good interviewer, Ted, and that you've interviewed the best. So
no, as usual, you've caused me enormous problems. Overrunning. Can you see that second bottom line? That's the beginning of the next segment. So I have to move everything forward.
Well, Ted and I were happy to chat away while you worked, you know, because this is like chatting while you work.
Indeed.
Ted, did you ever listen to music while you work when you were young? On the radio?
Even now when I'm old, I listen to it.
Yeah, that used to be every day, wasn't it? Before Mrs. Dale's Diary or after Mrs. Dale's Diary, I forget.
Radio 2, I think.
Was it?
Well, I don't think it was the home service, was it?
It was the home
It certainly
service,
wasn't Radio
yes.
1.
Yeah,
Radio 1 didn't
exist. The current Radio 4.
Right. Okay.
Yeah, it was before Mrs. Dale's Diary.
Together on a different day from Two-Way Family Favourites.
Two-Way Family Favourites, I think, was a weekend show, wasn't it?
Sunday.
Yeah.
From 12 o'clock until 1:45, if I remember rightly, or something like that.
Listeners, we are showing our age here, which is not good.
And sometimes it was the Three-Way Family Favourites.
Was it?
And the family favourites are still on Sundays, Paul, starting at 10 and finishing at 2.
On what station?
On 96 FM.
Oh.
Superb, beautiful music on it.
Yeah?
Yeah, fantastic.
That's the radio station where one of the presenters used to be a member of Blarney Toastmasters Club, isn't that right?
Right. I think he's with Virgin, I think.
Oh, has he moved to a different station?
No, the station was bought out by Virgin, as far as I know.
And is 96 FM now called Virgin FM?
No, 96 FM is still the same. He's moved. The company that he was with, I think, was Red FM.
Has Red been bought by Virgin then?
Or some station like that.
I tell you what, Deirdre O'Shaughnessy and himself. Deirdre O'Shaughnessy was the editor.
D-Shocks.
Give me 1 minute, guys.
Okay.
I'll be back.
Okay. Actually, Deirdre O'Shaughnessy now, Moira, has taken over as the news editor in the Examiner.
Has she? Okay. Yeah. I follow her on Twitter, but I don't follow Twitter enough, so.
Yeah, just recently, actually. Recently, a couple of weeks ago.
Okay, good for her.
And the man, who's that man again that Paul was talking about? He's a friend of Sharon's.
I didn't. I was concentrating on my little bits here, so I didn't.
Right, flip it. Trying to remember it.
10.
I must tell Paul that the show I'm speaking about on Sunday mornings on 96 FM is Oldies in Irish.
Is what in Irish?
Oldies in Irish, it's called.
Oldies
now,
in
it starts off with all classical stuff, and then it goes into lots of Irish ballads, and it's a fantastic show.
Yeah?
Yeah, they'd be tuning in from all over the world.
Yeah, it's good. Where are you doing that?
Very popular.
Where are you doing that?
Where am I doing it?
Yeah.
I don't do it.
Oh, sorry, it's a show you listen to. Apologies.
Oh, I listen to it. Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
I listen to it. 96 FM, 10 until 2 on Sundays.
Okay. Right, well, we're ready for... We could do your intro, actually.
Yeah, we'll do the intro.
Yeah, let me just move Mike out of the way. Give you room for your intro.
I'll just give a couple of... I might give a minute's intro into it because there's with him being introduced, I think there's about 8 minutes, is that?
Yeah.
And we might have are you going to go straight in then to the evaluation after it?
No, that's my segment. My segment, Ted.
Oh yeah, and you're going to use his speech as...
Yeah. Well, I'm using basically the first half of his speech.
Yeah, very good.
Because it is a very interesting from the point of view of body language and facial expressions and
it is superb,
vocal variety, and I mean it's just all over the place. It's amazing. Okay, Ted, let's do the intro.
Okay.
Okay, 3, 2, 1, go.
And welcome Toastmasters to our second offering this week of the Talk Show for Talkers. And as mentioned by Moira at the end of the yesterday's version, our speech today is one that some of you will have heard already and you'll be delighted to hear again. And if those of you out there who didn't hear it, you're going to hear it now. The world champion of public speaking for 2020 is Mike Carr. And that was on the 29th of August. He walked away with the coveted trophy. And we always recommend that you watch the speech as well. But for the purpose of this show, which is all about listening, we want you to listen to this and we want you to enjoy it, and particularly look for the moral in his story. And the moral is a very important one, particularly from the viewpoint of Toastmasters, because this gentleman makes a huge claim for Toastmasters and what Toastmasters has done in this year of COVID, where to grab the positivity. Even in the direst of moments, there is always something to be learned. And the amount of learning that has gone on in the past 5 months because of COVID has been incredible. We've met new people, we've traveled to new countries, we've learned so much together, we've discovered how to use Zoom, we've been taught how to do things that we never thought we would be capable of learning, but that was something that we've all learned, and this is something that this gentleman, our champion for 2020, Mike Carr, has taught us. So enjoy this speech, and we're also going to have another lovely opportunity later on in this particular week's show. On Monday, you can listen to Moira dissect the speech from an evaluation point of view. So there will be more learning for you to do. So listen to this speech, remember it, look at it again if you wish, and join us again next Monday and listen to Moira giving some fantastic tips, hints and tricks on evaluation. So we now give you Mike Carr as introduced by the first Vice President of Toastmasters International.
Okay, Ted, that was slightly longer than I anticipated, but that's okay.
Sorry, I thought that was about a minute.
Do you want to know how long it was? It was length of selection. That can't be right.
59 seconds.
Hold on. No, it gave me 20 minutes. Just not. That's come on. I've got to select it anyway. So there we go. That was 2 minutes 35 seconds, Ted.
2 minutes, all right. Sorry, Maura. Well, it fills it out nicely because the speech with the introduction is about 8 minutes.
Yeah, it's okay. We can live with that.
Ted, I hope you remember the timekeeper's report there, because it'll be of real benefit to you in future, because when you make a 5 to 7 minute speech and it turns out to be 2.5 times longer than you thought.
Good point. But one of the things, Paul, that you didn't catch was Moira said, we'll do the introduction. That will fill the space until Paul comes back. And as I saw your shadow appearing, I wrapped up.
Oh, God. So you guys are well ahead of me. Fantastic.
Okay, well, that's that segment complete. I'll do an outro later.
Ted, earlier in the recording, I don't know whether it was on air or off air, you used a phrase which I wrote down, which I'm going to use.
Okay.
And it is, the clubs did it first.
Yeah, I think so.
And that is actually a tremendous thing, you see. And I love the way you put it, because when you think about it, the clubs saved
the organisation
National from extinction.
Yes.
Yeah, I have to agree with you.
You know, it was from the bottom up.
Yeah. Well, did you see my response to your one word on LinkedIn?
I don't think I've seen it yet.
Well, you put up a post on LinkedIn.
Yeah.
And I replied.
What did you say, though? Remind me.
I said something just like what I just said there now about the clubs. And I said that the clubs inverted the pyramid.
Mm.
Oh, I didn't see that.
And they gave the encouragement to the leadership up at the very top.
And the great thing about that is that's the way it should be.
Yeah, well, that's the way it was, and that's the way Toastmasters is structured. That everything starts with the club, and this was a fantastic example of it.
And the clubs indicate the kind of support they need. You see, that's the best clubs indicate the kind of support that they need. And then,
but you know, what better example could you have for any organisation or any business in the world? And when you say, look, the people who are the people that matter are the people at the coalface anyway. These are the people who do the work. These are the people who know what they want. These are the people you should be speaking to if you want to be a success. And that is exactly what happened in Toastmasters. It wasn't a matter of clubs saying, we should do it, we should do it. The leadership at the top of Toastmasters were magnificent as well, because they listened. And that's what it's all about.
Yeah. I guess we better move on. Should we, Moira? Are you ready to move us on?
Yes, we are. The stream has got a few problems for some reason or other. Obviously, my internet is not as good as it should be because the stream has frozen. That's okay.
And does that happens, of course, when you who have control everything, when your internet freezes, yeah?
Well, no, I've got plenty of internet. I don't know what they said. First of all, that our bitrate was too low, so I upped the bitrate, and then they said, "Whoa, you know, you're not sending enough video to stream." So I put the bitrate back.
Ted, what's your natural bitrate, Ted?
Bit of this and a bit of that.
A bit, yes, a little bit of the other. I know.
Are you 65 over 90? I'd say your bit rate is.
Oh, I probably am actually. Yeah.
Are you 90 over 60?
Is that my heart rate you're talking about?
It's your bit rate. I don't know what you are. It's a little bit of you anyway.
Yeah, good man.
Okay, now let me just check and see if there's audio coming through to this stream. Yeah, there's plenty of audio goes through to the stream, but the video is very stuttery. So I'm going to drop the bit down again.
Well, you know that the audio is more important than the video. So why don't we just crack on?
Of course, we couldn't care less about the video, really, could we?
Exactly. People are walking around their kitchen listening live to the talk show for talkers, but they're hardly looking, they're hardly wanting to know what is Paul wearing today.
Yep.
That's true.
Indeed. Okay, so are you ready, Paul, or shall I? No, am I ready? I'll bring you in. If I can just, yeah, okay. Welcome to part 3 of the Talk Show for Talkers here on irishtalkers.com. You're most welcome and glad you have come back with us because we have a treat for you today. Today, we are bringing you Mr. Paul O'Mahony, and Paul has entitled his segment this week, "You Have No Idea What You Are Getting Into." Paul, I have no idea what I'm getting into. Will you please enlighten me?
Certainly, Moira. Thank you very much for being curious. I promise that I shall attend my club meetings regularly. I just want to start today with something that I came across when I was applying to join Toastmasters. I saw it written down, and did I really know what I was letting myself in for? Well, of course I didn't. I had no idea how frequently the club meetings were even going to be on. One of the things that everyone agrees with when they join Toastmasters is that we all have the same reason for joining. Every person who joins Toastmasters everywhere in the world has exactly the same reason for joining. And that reason, ladies and gentlemen, is we join in order to get personal and professional development. It's why people join. But we have very little idea what we're getting into. Yes, we expect to, when we join the local club, we expect that we will be helped to be able to be a better speaker. And we know that people speak. But very soon after we join, and perhaps even before or even after we do our icebreaker, somebody says to you, "Paul, we'd like you to be the timer next week." Good, easy role for you to start off with. Oh, you know, here's the equipment. We'll show you how to work it, and we'll tell you what to do. Okay? So Paul says, okay. What they don't tell you is, in addition to operating the equipment, we want you to make an informal, impromptu speech to the whole club at the beginning of the meeting. And we also want you to make another impromptu speech to the whole club at the end. But we don't tell you that because nobody would agree to be a timer if they were told shortly after they joined the club that they were expected to make 2 impromptu speeches. It's bad enough to be picked during table topics to make 1, but you got to make 2. So you don't know what you're letting yourself in for. Let's fast forward to the day that you become president of the club. Oh, yes, you know what it's like to be a president. You know, you're very gratified. Everybody is very pleased you're the president. It means you have to go to every club meeting. You have to say a few words at the beginning and a few words at the end, and you have to make sure everybody else does all the jobs. No problem at all. What they don't tell you is that you have to lead a committee. And maybe they do tell you that because you might have been on the committee before. But they certainly don't tell you that, right, being the club president means that you're on the area council, the policy making and coordination council for an area. So you're actually going to be working with 4 or 5 other clubs at meetings throughout the year. And as if that wasn't enough, they don't tell you that you're going to have a vote at the highest level in your district because you're going to be on the district council. And they also, by the way, don't tell you, yes, they don't tell you that. They don't also tell you that in addition to this, you're going to have a vote at the very highest level in Toastmasters International because you're going to have a vote at the annual convention. You had no idea. You just thought you were joining Blumpity Blump local club and being the local president. You had no idea what you were letting yourself in for. Let's fast forward another little bit and imagine you become an area director. You think, oh, great, I can support 6 clubs, no problem. I love clubs. I like supporting people. Nice role. I'm prepared to organize some training. I'm prepared to organize contests. I'm prepared to do a number of things. I'm prepared to visit other clubs. All very nice. They don't tell you that as an area director, you're on the division council. That means you're actually on the whole strategic planning group for the entire division. It gets worse than that for people who are in the dark, because you're also on the district executive committee. This is the real executive decisions. And you're also on the district council. They don't tell you any of this. And they also don't tell you, well, you'll be getting regular tuition and advice from your division director. Maybe they do tell you that. But then you get to become the division director. Oh, this is easy enough. I've only got 4 area directors to look after. I love looking after area directors. They're all very nice people. Fantastic. We got a distinguished club program. We'll know what to do. Do they tell you that you're going to be interacting on WhatsApp groups with all the other division directors across England, Wales, Northern Ireland, and do they tell you that you're going to have frequent contact with the district director, the program quality director? You just thought you were on division. You're going to have the public relations manager offering you X, Y, and Z, and you're going to have to make decisions about whether you're going to be able to accept or not. Do they tell you all of that? And do they even tell you that you're going to come in contact with, would you believe it, the region? You're going to find out there's such a thing as a region. Anyway, let me not carry on, because I could also do the district directors. And when somebody becomes a district director, do they fully realize, well, they ought to by now, that something's going to happen and they're going to be expected to operate at a level way outside their own territory? Are they going to realize that they're going to be expected to go on international travel via the Zoom and whatever, that they're going to expect to be trained by internationally acclaimed trainers? No. You see, that's what Toastmasters does to you. It gets you in under false pretenses that you're just here for a little bit of personal development and that your role is just an easy thing. You take it in your stride. We're all here to support you. But they don't tell you that you're going to be given an opportunity to operate at a higher level all the time. All the time. So gradually you find yourself sucked into a culture which gives you learning about leadership without you ever realizing. You came in just to do a bit of speaking. You came in to do a bit of impromptu speaking, and you were even prepared to be the timer. But you didn't realize that when you actually became the sergeant at arms, which was a very easy job, you just had to get things ready for the meeting, that you were actually on the steering committee for the entire club, and that your vote counted just as much as the president. The president doesn't have 2 votes. The sergeant at arms has just as strong a vote. So all of this is a very strange thing, isn't it, listeners? I mean, isn't it really an interesting way of doing things? You see, I come back to my proposition. When you join Toastmasters, you have no idea what you're letting yourself in for, do you? Amen. Now I invite Ted Melanphy, who's been at more committee meetings than I've had hot dinners, to chip in. And Ted, your response, please.
I'm delighted that you asked me that question, Paul, because if you had told me that in 2007, before I joined Toastmasters, I wouldn't be conversing with you now, sir. But you put it very well, and you also used a very nice technique. The way you put it over, that in actual fact, you get and you give all that learning without even realizing it. And that is one of the gems of Toastmasters, that your learning is subliminal and you do it and you learn by doing it. That's the beauty of Toastmasters.
I can think that Moira O'Brien, who started off as the acoustic director of this podcast, the technical director behind the scenes, little did she know that she was going to be inveigled into being the #1 talent in the next episode of the Talk Show for Talkers.
Opportunity knocks.
Little did you know that when I started out in this podcast, I was told to zip it up, keep quiet. You're not entitled to open your mouth. And I was itching to open my mouth. So it was only after the first 18 months or so that I was allowed to contribute. And as you know, you just couldn't stop me once I was allowed on board. Well, folks, we are coming to the end of this segment, I'm glad to say. And I would...
Excuse me, just before you finished, are you saying you're glad that we've come to the end of this segment because there was something abject about the segment?
Abject poverty, maybe, yes. No, that's absolutely fine. Folks, as you can see, as you can hear, you can't see us, of course, unless you're listening to us on YouTube for the live show. But anyway, I'm digressing. I am in abject... what am I? Abjectly...
Approval.
Yeah, something or other.
Confusion.
Do join us again tomorrow, when I will be going back and looking at Mike Carr's winning speech, because there is an awful lot of learning to be had there in terms of body language and use of the screen and use of and facial expressions and movements. It's fantastic. Join us then. Bye for now. Okay, that was perfect timing.
Yeah, that was very good.
Surprise, surprise.
Well, I didn't want to get you irritated, Moira, so I stopped talking in plenty of time.
You stopped right on the green button, Paul. That was excellent.
Well, you always get me irritated, Paul. You know that. It doesn't matter whether you are perfect, imperfect, or pluperfect.
Well, Moira, I always think you need to be irrigated. So
True.
I don't think there's any real, I don't really object if I irrigate you,
And I agree with you, Paul. I think she should always be imitated as well.
Okay, lads. Over to you, Paul, for the introductions. 3, 2, 1, go.
Welcome back, listeners, to the very perfect episode, the very best episode of our entire week's work. Because here in this episode, you're going to hear the world champion speech from this year taken apart by our star analyzer, Moira O'Brien. Put your hands together for the #1 analytic voice on the Talk Show for Talkers, Moira O'Brien.
As usual, Paul, you set me up for a fall with your kind introductions because, of course, I'm none of those things. But I do have a few ideas. And one of the beauties of this year's World Championship of Public Speaking was the fact that it was virtual. Well, virtual is the wrong word. It was on screen. There was no live audience. That, of course, made a huge difference because there was no response. But let's put that aside because what I want to talk about today is all about screen presence. That's probably a better way of putting it than the title that I was going to give to this, which is Body Language and Movement. Let's just call it screen presence. Now, it will help if you have seen the video, or if you like, pause this and put the video up and play it along as I talk, because there is a lot of this that is visual, but I'll try and describe it as much as I can. Let's start right from the very beginning. Instead of standing mid-screen, Mike actually goes right into the bottom left-hand corner as we view it of the screen. Just that little bit of him there. And he starts talking, and he slides away as he talks about a door closing. And he goes right to the very side of the screen. He almost disappears off screen completely. And then he comes back on screen again. And it's all perfectly timed into the speech and what he's actually saying. And then he goes back to the center. And then as he is coming out of the speech, coming out of the, let's say, the dialogue, he goes right close up to the screen to make the point. And then he goes into his introduction. So that's the first bit. It's brilliant use of the screen space, which we didn't see in anybody else's speech, at least not to this degree by any means. But it's not only that, it was his facial expressions. You could actually see the story unfolding. And we go on to the second bit where the projector has broken down and the film has broken, and we get, he actually demonstrates on screen how the film had broken, and you get this fluttering on the screen. And he then moved again to the side of the screen, and again he actually put his hand in front of the camera, right in front of the camera, and had up and down to show what happens when you have a broken film in a projector. That was absolutely brilliant, because there's no doubt in our minds exactly what's happening. Not only did he describe it very well with his voice, he described it perfectly with his actions. His actions were totally concurrent with what he was saying. He also gave extremely good facial expression when he talked about how he could smell the burning, and he was sniffing, he was there, he was present in the moment with the burning, the smell of burning. We go on to the next bit. Conversation. Now, conversation is a tricky thing to represent well on screen. We have a lot of people who will turn their body 90 degrees to talk to somebody on their right, and then turn their body 90 degrees the other way to talk to their person, the other person. So representing two people talking together. Now, the cleverer people, they just move a little bit, maybe 30 degrees to one side and 30 degrees to the other side. Mike did it even better, because when he started out, he was on the floor with the bits of the projector all around him and trying to put it back together. The librarian comes in, and the librarian, all he does when he's talking as a librarian is he looks down and to the right, just a tiny, tiny bit to the right. But it was enough for us to know exactly what's happening. The librarian was standing up, Mike is on the floor, and the librarian was talking directly to him. It was perfect. He didn't need to go overboard and turn a long way to represent that. Just that little movement of the head was all it needed. So then, when Mike was talking to the librarian, he was looking up and to the left. Librarian, down to the right. Mike, up to the left. You knew, you could see this visually on screen, that Mike was talking to a standing up librarian. Then, when he was talking about the disassembly of the projector, he moved all the way to the right of the screen. And he stood there on the right side of the screen. And then he went back to description. And then half a minute later, he returned to the assembly of the projector in exactly the same space that he started off disassembling the projector. So that was perfect. He took us physically back in the story and physically on stage to where he was when he started disassembling the projector. So that was, again, perfect. Then the brilliant bit where he switched the projector on again. And I thought to myself when I heard this first, this is a perfect moment for a pregnant pause. And there on the screen there was nothing. That's what I thought he would do. But he didn't. And in some ways, I think that was the right thing to do, because we all expected him to pause. But instead he said, and there on the screen, there was nothing. Nothing! He stood up and he raised his hand. Nothing! And that accelerated the problem. So sometimes it is actually better not to go for the obvious pause, but actually to do something which is unexpected. Well, that, folks, is really all that I wanted to say about this. I know I have plenty of time left and I should be covering lots more, but I want to open it up to Paul and Ted just to see what their reactions are and if they've got anything to add to this little dissection. And this is only the first 3 minutes or so of the speech. There's a lot more in the rest of the speech, but I didn't have time to go through and dissect absolutely everything. So Ted, your thoughts?
Well, I think you did a lovely job on the evaluation, Moira. You picked out some of the finer points, and something that I've learned over the past couple of weeks, and particularly since the World Championship finals, that when you're giving a speech on stage, it's completely different to give it to a camera.
Yeah.
Completely different.
Yeah, I agree.
And you picked up on the points lovely. For instance, if you were on stage, you would be giving the gestures, turning to the left, turning to the right. Whereas, as you said, all Mike was doing was just moving his head, and it was all eye movement, which was very important. So yep. I think you did a lovely job on that. And I think for our listeners, who will also now be becoming our viewers, insofar as we've asked them to look at the speech again on YouTube or Google, they will see exactly what you're talking about. And I think you've given a lovely exercise in evaluation for television.
Ted, I've got to stop you there because for some reason or other, the recording stopped. Okay. Sorry about that. Let's just see where it actually stopped. I wasn't paying attention to it. I obviously pressed the space bar at the wrong time.
It was all eye movement, which was very important. So yep. I think you did a lovely job.
Okay. So I think you did a lovely job. Can you go back to there and do whatever you want?
Just after a lovely job.
Yeah. Okay, 3, 2, 1, go.
And a great example of evaluation, particularly for this time of Zoom.
Thanks a lot, Ted, for that. That's much appreciated. Paul, do you have any thoughts you'd like to share?
I'm very influenced by having heard Mike talk about the speech afterwards at a meeting of Toastmasters which I tuned into online. And the amount of care and attention that he put with his coach, he had a speech coach for this latter stages of the contest. The amount of care and attention they put into every single gesture was staggering. And I've often, there's no doubt that Mike stood out from everybody else in terms of the choreography of his speech. No doubt about that at all. And I've seen lots and lots of people comment about that. There were all sorts of debates going on about the content of the speech. And I guess they'll continue forever. But there's no doubt that that's the finest example of anyone at a Toastmasters meeting using the stage, the internet stage, for the purpose of making a speech. And for that, I think it'll probably go down in history. All other speeches that I can think of, had lots of movement and things, but none was ever crafted specially for the Zoom environment. Yeah. And I'm really looking forward to hearing Mike speak about another topic on Sunday next, when he talks to the One Country, One World Club. And so that is, and I'm also looking forward to hearing him doing some impromptu speaking, if ever he's willing to be interviewed on the Talk Show for Talkers.
Well, folks, I can assure you, folks, that we have invited Mike to come on the show, and he has agreed. We just need to arrange a date. So keep your ears open for that. But now I'm going to call the show to a close. Thanks a lot for tuning in this week, and I hope you enjoyed it. And you'll come again and join us on next Friday for our next session, and Friday, Saturday, Sunday, Monday, as always. So from Ted and myself, goodbye. See you next week.
Are we no longer live streaming, Moira?
All right, so from Paul, goodbye.
We are live streaming until such time as I tell you that we're not live streaming. But I'm happy to call the live stream.
I was unsure of whether, and you saw that I picked my words carefully, I didn't want to commit this podcast to...
oh, well, I did.
Having Mike on it, but it wasn't my job to jump the gun there.
Well, no, it's fine. As he has agreed to come on the show, I was quite happy to make it public.
And since it's going to be recorded on Zoom, it'll be interesting to see which side of the screen Mike enters from. I'm interested to know if he's going to come in from the left wing or the right wing.
And probably just pop up straight underneath.
Yeah.
When he's talking to Ted, if he'll move his head gently to the right, and talking to Moira gently to the left.
Yeah.
I'm a little unsure about that. But the interesting thing, of course, is that Ted will not tell him the questions beforehand.
Of course not.
Oh, no.
So it'll be all...
The thing about it, Paul, is that when we are interviewing him, we will be on Zoom, so he'll be looking straight at camera.
Well, you never know, Mike. He might not be looking straight at the camera.
Yeah, true.
He may decide to pull a fast one.
Yeah.
Now, I did quite want to bring in the effect that Lindy made in her speech, the cards that she used, and the very effective way that the cards told the real story, whereas what she was saying was what she wanted to hear.
If you had done that, you'd have turned all the audience off, because it was bad enough having to get themselves quickly organised to watch Mike's speech. Now they're going to have to rush off again.
I know. That is why I didn't mention it in the show. But,
on Linda's speech, and then there was a Linda and a Lindsay. So there were two women whose name began with an L, and I've seen people mix them up.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, Linda and Lindy, yes.
Yeah, Linda was the one who got
Oh, sorry,
second.
Linda. Yeah,
Yeah,
my
yeah.
apologies. My apologies to Linda.
And
No, it would be great if we could get Mike on next week on the show to keep this sort of.
It would if we can. Okay,
You know?
we'll stop the stream now, and
Okay.
streamers, we'll see you again next week. So thanks for tuning in.